Worlds 2019 is over, and what an event it was! From prize walls to streams, we take a look back at the last open ticket Worlds event for Star Wars Destiny.
While many of us were unable to attend this year, we look forward to getting a first-hand account from our very own Mike Hill.
We will also take a look at the new Covert Missions spoilers and discuss the future of Star Wars Destiny.
This is episode 146, Worlds 2019 Recap.
You have been well trained.
No. You don't have to carry a sword to be powerful.
I won't fail you.
Oh, do not.
I'm not afraid.
There is no try.
Everyone, we are back for another week. We apologize for missing last week as some family obligations took precedent. However, we are post Worlds, and even those of us who did not attend still have the, high from reading the news coverage. Maybe it was kind of exciting. Yeah, Matt, do you agree?
It was exciting, yeah.
Sure, it was exciting. There were things to read, people to watch. It's all
No,
good.
there was a lot going on. It was awesome.
It was. And of course, when we talk about something slightly other than Destiny, of course, the new trailer dropped last night. I don't know if anybody's anti-spoiler, so we're not really going to say anything, but
right.
It was quite.
It was
event.
pretty cool. It was pretty neat. It was pretty rad.
Yes.
Good tickets.
we won't spoil anything, but yes, it was very good.
It had characters in it. There were mentions of the Force, so if you didn't know about that, sorry, spoilers. There's spaceships in space, planets also in space. Certainly there was a little bit of conflict, potentially some resolution. There was the reveal of protagonists and antagonists of the story. But beyond that, nothing really.
Yeah. Well, that's it. And my theater that I have purchased is now full. So I've sold all my tickets, so...
Ooh,
Nice.
Very nice.
I'm excited. It should be
Yeah,
fun.
if I was you, I'd have been so tempted to just sit in there by myself.
Well, my credit card was not tempted to do that.
Just right in the middle. Tell everyone to stay out.
At least all the people who were coming are actually cool. So
That is nice.
yeah. So anybody else got anything non-Destiny related they want to jump into before we talk about the spoilers for next week? Or last week?
Other than
spoilers,
the
which
tickets
we
and the
don't have.
trailer, huh?
Not really.
I just realized the other day that the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order game is about to come out, which
Yeah,
kind of
pretty
slipped
soon.
under my radar. But I think in November, so I think we're just maybe a couple of weeks away from that, which is kind of cool.
I sort of forgot about that. But
Yeah, I did too, but it actually looks really good, so...
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's fun. Thank you for the follow. And I just noticed the notification has Dancing Stormtroopers on top of Matthew Scott. That was pretty awesome.
What they
doesn't want
really
to see
like,
Matthew Scott's face, please follow
They
the
like-
channel.
like that trailer summary is what it was. That was the best way to summarize the trailer without
Right.
spoilers.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump into the news and talk about those spoilers.
Let me take that back, huh? You'll find what you need.
So for anybody who wasn't following the action, throughout the FFG live stream of Worlds this weekend, they did release about 2, 4, 6, 8 new spoilers for Covert Missions, which was really exciting, which really definitely gave you something to look forward to as the stream was going on. Some interesting themes that come through these, and I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts. First off, we have the legendary character Sinjar Rathvelas, and everybody's like, who the heck is this guy? And if you don't read the novels, then you'll never know. But he's one of the main characters in the Aftermath trilogy. Funny that he's a legendary character. Yeah, I think maybe the first homosexual character in Star Wars. Anyways.
Oh,
that's
really?
Fun fact.
Yeah.
He is 12 health, 2 melee, 2 indirect, 1 discard, 1 shield, 1 resource, and a blank. 14-17 to play, and he is a scoundrel. After you resolve one of this character's character dice, you may place a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck to remove a die showing the same symbol as that die.
So his quote, right, is "I am excellent at causing pain."
Uh-huh.
That's totally true, but I don't think in the way the character intended. Because I look at this card and I am caused pain. It's,
Why is that?
because it's so close to being really cool. But I'm just not real sure it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, if it had a bunch of similar sides, you could play it as a meta call, maybe. And then Sinjard have a cool spot. If it was maybe like no blanks, that could be pretty cool. So you always had a symbol. But as it is, I don't know. I don't know. You're about to see how biased I am too, because I'm going to be real hyped on another character that's not really that good, and I'm down on this guy. But what do you guys think?
I don't know what to think about him. He's expensive.
We've never had any real luck with characters that have built-in removal because the cost is usually too great.
Mahdi's not bad, but
Mahdi is really good, actually. Yes.
Yeah, but that's the only one they've hit on, I think.
Mm-hmm. He's also very cheap,
which is the key, right? Because you can play him as a support.
Yeah, 14-17 is always kind of an interesting spot for a character, right? Because it's almost middle, but not quite, and he's not really a heavy hitter, so it's going to be hard to slot him, I think.
If he was like a 1 melee, 2 melee, 2 melee, right? And you just played him in Vader meta or Maul meta or Kylo Ren, that'd be cool. If you had a special that said, if this character's die showing special, treat it as any symbol, like a wild card, that could be cool. But as it is, the odds of this really being what you want, short of putting him with like R2-D2, are terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Yeah.
And so they were kind enough to give us a set of cards that go along with our the Wookiee subtype. This is something new. They haven't explored the Wookiee subtype all that much, so we'll start with Fortitude, 2 resource, a hero event for the red. Oh, sorry, it's not an event; it's an upgrade. I was distracted by the lack of die sites. Upgrade ability: attached character has +3 health or +4 health instead if it's a Wookiee, and 3 health for 2 resources seems to be a pretty big swing. But I don't know. No?
Yeah, it's Mind, basically, right? Or on a Wookiee, it's 2 field medics.
What's field medic? Field medic's 1, right?
1 for 2.
1 for 2. So this is 2
So-
for 4 for a Wookiee.
This is going to kind of bleed into world stuff a little bit, but I don't know if y'all got a chance to hear Andrew's interview with Matt Holland after the event. He talked about something really interesting, which was why he was so quick to resolve like resource sides and disrupt sides, and basically made a equivalence between money and health, and said that 2 health is worth about one resource in the game. And if you look at cards like Field Medic, that makes a lot of sense. So this seems in line with that. I think on its own, it's kind of like, okay, it takes up an upgrade slot. It seems really good on a Wookiee, but I think it's the cards that we get to next that make it a lot better for me.
I'm just real glad it's hero, because Palpatine didn't need this.
Yeah, no.
So that's
right.
Mahdi deck.
Yeah, I think it's just fine being heroes only.
Yes.
Will it see a bunch of play? I don't know. Will Wookiees? Because the 2 for 3 is below curve. I always have said the same thing about damage. You want to pay 1 resource for 2 damage. You don't want to go under that because your curve gets a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, this is right on the 1 for 2.
Yep.
If it's the Wookiee.
Along with this was the plot Valorious Tribe? Valorious? Is that a word?
Valorous?
Valorous? Okay.
Valorous is totally a word. It means they're brave.
I understand valor. I've never heard it adverbed before.
Matt Holland, stop talking like this.
Sorry.
The tribe of valor.
The tribe of... it is a plot that has an action. Exhaust this plot to move up to 2 damage from a character to a character you control. Then you may spot a Wookiee to heal 1 damage from a character. So this has some interesting built-in healing abilities, but at the same time you are having to sacrifice some sort of Wookiee character now with the addition of the Kashyyyk warrior in the lineup. That does allow for kind of that sacrificial player on your team. But 3 points is pretty hefty.
I was about to say, what's the cost of this? Could we please compare it to Faithful Companions real quick?
Faithful Companions is 2, yeah?
Oh, it is. That's my point.
Oh. So you're saying this is not as good as Faithful Companions?
I'm saying very few cards that have ever been printed in Star Wars Destiny are as good as Faithful Companions. But it
seems like you might have played droids this weekend. Seems like
actually
you might have played against some droid sticks.
For what it's worth, not that much, actually. I played a lot more Relo and stuff in pods, but...
Oh, really?
It is definitely true that, I mean, if you're going to put 3 points to something, Profitable Connection is fine because it gives you an early edge, but 1 health a turn. I mean, effectively, right? You're going to heal.
So,
how many turns does this have to be in play to be better than 3 character points? I guess that would be an interesting question.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's more to it than that, though. You get the 1 health a turn. That's really good, right? I think potentially better is you get to start to dictate where damage goes. So if they're targeting your more valuable character, you're obviously going to be exhausting this to start moving that damage to, presumably this isn't a Wookiee deck, so to a Kashyyyk warrior. And that's good because it's almost like a pseudo guardian, and it's going to force them to target your less desirable characters and take them off the board because they don't want to divide damage. Right. And then, of course, when we get into the to the next 2 cards, I think it synergizes with those well also, because you can start loading up damage on a character, and now they're doing more damage because of it. So
I would agree. I think it'll be a fun deck to play because you're going to get a balancing act, right? You have to get to 6
right.
and then no more.
Right.
And the plot will let you do that. And Chewbacca actually works kind of similarly, but it feels like a locals deck to me, but it feels fun. Like, absolutely. Anyone else to play it, it'd be awesome.
A locals deck?
Like the kind of decks that I like, that are goofy and fun.
I was like, that's a new term. I guess not really.
Probably not a Prime Zuri Worlds deck until someone proves me wrong and makes an awesome Wookiee deck, and I just have to be like in awe of their skill.
There you go.
That's what we thought about Ewoks. You know, like there's nothing to that tribal deck. Tribal decks have no place in Destiny, and then turns out all you had to do was add something random to it. So the trick is going to be squeezing a youngling into a Wookiee deck for some reason, and that's going to somehow make the magic happen. Sort
of like how I'm going to make my Anakin youngling deck, where I murder them all with that. What's that shield card?
And they also showed us Tarful, who is a unique Wookiee warrior. He's a leader, 11 health, 1114 is his character cost. Wonderful die side, not really, of 1 range, 1 melee, 2 focus, 1 resource, and a blank. I do like the 2 focus. Each other Wookiee characters you control has +1 health. And before you resolve one of this character's character dice showing damage, increase its value by 1 if this character has 6 or more damage. They like that number. They like the 6 or more damage number in design space.
It's the balancing act here, right? Because if you can get to 6, now the die says 2, 2, 3, 2 focus. And that's a character you can play with. So it'll be fun. I think a lot of the damage moving cards might even like the plot, but there are others.
One initial problem with it is what upgrades do you put in that deck if you actually run a mono red Wookiee deck?
All the ones that come out in the set?
There aren't
exactly. Like hopefully they put enough in there, because otherwise you have Quicksilver Baton and a second Quicksilver Baton would be good probably. But like, what else? You know, like how much red melee, like red hero melee, is there?
Not
Yeah,
a
after
bunch.
rotation, there wasn't much.
No. So I mean, if they don't come out with some upgrades and hopefully a redeploy upgrade that actually works on these guys, then yikes. I mean,
I just hate mixed damage.
yep.
What's that thing he's holding? Like a stick or something? What's he got in his hand? A bow?
I don't know what that is.
What is that thing?
It looks like a steampunk's shotgun.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they'll make that.
Oh, that's gonna be great. We're gonna get a red hero upgrade that has mixed damage sides too.
It'll be
It'll
awesome.
be +2 ranged, +2 melee.
We're all going to remember the fear we lived in when Callus was a big part of the meta for that reason.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, that's right. They also not previewed on the stream, but as part of the monochromatic promo cards they were releasing, was the Kashyyyk Warrior, 10 health, 1 melee, 2 melee with a resource, 1 disrupt, 1 resource, and a blank. 11, so they're 9 unique characters. A character warrior and a character wiki and a trooper, which is kind of interesting to have that trooper subtype there. And before you resolve one of this character's character dice, showing damage increases by 1 if this character has 6 or more damage. So that seems to be a running theme amongst our wikis. They just get really angry when they get near death. But who wouldn't?
Sounds good.
Who wouldn't? Let's be honest. And then we get into our blue cards that they spoiled, getting very close to the one that Mike is very excited about. We'll start with Deathfield, a legendary upgrade ability. You're welcome, Palpatine. That cost 5 resources to play, and I thought we were done with these overpowered cards, but we're not.
This thing's dirty.
2 indirect, 3 indirect, 3 indirect, 4 indirect for a resource, 2 discard, and a special. Blue character only action exhausts this upgrade to roll this die into your pool. Like, we need another one of those. And then the special is deal 2 damage to each of an opponent's characters. So might as well be 6 indirect.
I mean, but for what it's worth, though, really, if you have all the 2 focuses Palpatine does, and you accidentally whoops out 18 damage on droids with this card, you win, right?
Yes.
It seems like a good card to me. And not just droids. I mean, if you hit that 3 indirect side 3 times, you just did 9 damage. No pay side. You hit the 2 discard the first time, well, cool. It's a very good card.
I mean, I know they probably designed this, and you talk about Vader's Fist and all these cards that can roll in twice in a turn. I'm sure they had designed well before they were in our hands, but I'm just shocked they are continuing with this kind of high-powered trend in these upgrade support cards.
Man, I'm going to tell you... go ahead, Matt. Go.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I agree. I do not personally care for multiple resolution cards. So 3 Vader's Fist resolutions is very frustrating.
Vader's Fist, best card in the game.
Yeah, and I think, Deathfield is going to be the same. The upside to Deathfield is you kill the character and it's gone, at least, so that's something. True. But obviously this goes into a Palpatine deck, and killing Palpatine is not easy, so...
This strikes me as one of those things where they designed it with Darth Bane in mind, and then it was sort of like maybe later in the process, someone was like, well, what about Palpatine? That would not be the first time this has happened, where they've designed something kind of cool for a new character and then discovered only later that it had an interaction with an old character that was not overly good. And so I wonder, I mean, I'm sure they knew this would go on Palpatine, but are they just hoping 5 is a whole lot and that Palpatine can't play it early enough in a game?
That's what I was going to say, though, actually, is I would be interested to see Palpatine get this card out. I feel like you want your resources for back to therapy. You want your resources for Admiral. And if you got to watch Jonathan Rowland play his Admiral Palp deck much, which he did very well with, it didn't seem like he had enough cash to be throwing around in this upgrade, no matter how good it is. Like, he was usually having to overwrite something to get Admiral out at 4. But Admiral is the one you want.
Let's say, hypothetically, you pulled Force Storm from your list and added Deathfield. You're up costed 1, and you have a special that probably shores up to the point of being winnable for your opponent in certain matchups.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're right. I'm not saying Palpatine just throws this thing out there like it's nothing, but I don't know.
It obviously will be easier to get on Bane.
Sure.
But I'm not sold on Bane being well, I don't know. Does this make him playable? It's not I don't know.
Well, between this and sneak preview the mastery, he has some very cool cards to try to slam down turn 1.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, once again, I'm going to ask, they made these tools for Bane like they typically do with the new face legendaries of a set, right? They all get their little tools. Is this like really a tool for Darth Bane, or is this just an extra toolkit card for Palpatine?
Yeah.
And that remains to be seen.
Oh, I'm sure we'll find out in 7 months.
Oh, don't do that to me, Jason.
We got to look at a new downgrade, reoccurring Nightmare 2 resources to play. Interestingly enough, first downgrade with a die. This die can only be resolved against attached character. I don't know if the question has been asked as to who's rolling this die in and who's resolving it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, and I missed this spoiler on the stream, so I don't know if they gave any. Yeah, I don't know if they discussed that at all. But whose pool is it in? Who rolls it in? I don't.
I mean, obviously, this gets rolled in when the character this downgrade is attached to activates.
Right.
The question is it the owner of the downgrade who's rolling it in, and is the owner of the downgrade who's resolving it? I would imagine so.
Well, I mean, I would argue that the card text doesn't really tell you, but since you do retain ownership of downgrades, it wouldn't be weird for it to go in your pool.
Right.
You know what I
I
mean?
assume it will.
Plus, the double blanks, I guess, has some cool stuff with if this character rolls a blank downgrades. This is I don't know how I feel about this card. It's a cool idea. It's a neat design space. If it ends up being kind of a cool card that doesn't catch fire, they could definitely work in that sort of boundary to create something that does. I really like the way it functions.
For sure.
Here's the thing: in a blue deck, is it better than heirloom lightsaber? Like, wouldn't you just want to pay one more to have a die with only one blank and that redeploys?
Oh, in most blue decks, I'd probably rather pay the same to get treasured lightsaber or crossguard lightsaber or Jedi lightsaber or any number of effective 2-drops.
I mean, this kind of works as like a weapon for you.
Yeah.
But it doesn't redeploy. It's gone.
If you put it on the character you're not targeting, you'll get it the whole game, So it's cool that way, maybe.
But you have to resolve it against them.
You do?
Mm-hmm. So you have to resolve it against the attached character.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't like it.
I don't know.
I like the idea
we'll
of
see.
it. I'm going to stick with it.
I like the idea of it, sure.
I'm going to stick with I like the idea of it a lot. And if this particular one doesn't work, I think they will be able to design one that does.
For sure.
I appreciate they continue to take a card type and push the boundary of it every set. So we're not, we get downgrades and they get more and more exciting. We get, we haven't seen another battlefield with a die. I think maybe that ship has sailed, but plots are continuing to become more and more exciting as we go forward. We got the next lightsaber form in this set, Cheyenne Master. Upgrade ability form, 4 resource, cost to play, 2 melee, 2 shield, 2 shield, 2 resource, and 2 special sides. After you play this upgrade, you may roll this die into your pool. Great. And then special, deal 2 damage to a character. You may remove a die showing damage, which I do appreciate that quite a bit.
This is the card that makes me think Darth Bane can be kind of spicy. You just drop this turn 1, and there it is. Cool. I didn't have to prep for it or anything. I paid my 2, and I've got this boss die twice.
Yeah, and you're assuming that Cheyenne training is something that's going to come out as well. That they have with the other 2 forms.
Yeah, you would think. Yeah.
So.
I don't know if Palpatine has a spot for this because it relies so heavily on the shuffling. with our existent masteries, but maybe he does. Getting the die twice is pretty spicy because you get it 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Not
3
much,
specials that remove damage.
So you got 3 damage sides, you got 2 shield sides, and a resource side, all pretty hefty.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Well, if you roll it out and hit the 2 resource side, you paid 2 for it because you're going to activate and roll it in again.
If it's your first play on Darth Bane, you paid
Nothing
for it, and then you slap a. Oh no, it's a form. You can't put a Neiman on him. Also, that would be gross.
No, but you could definitely override it into Force Storm for nothing. So,
Which is interesting that they can really push the design space of the forms because they're limiting it to 1 per character. So that's really
because this would be silly with Nemo Mastery. But,
I'll tell you what I don't like about it compared to Neiman and Sorasu is when you roll it in, or when you play it, you get to roll in the die, which is fine. Well, okay, it has an incredible die. That's really good. But I like the automatic effect that you get off of Sorasu or Neiman. Like, I play it, and I remove a die. And that's kind of nice out of hand, before they have a chance to mitigate it or anything.
That's why I wonder if this is not a worse Palpatine card than his current choices. But, I don't know. I haven't played a ton of Palpatine.
And last but not least, we'll let the fanboy go ahead and talk all about Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, not least. Hooray! So my local guys laughed at me when this got spoiled. And at least 2 or 3 guys were like, "Did you see this?" I was like, "Oh, I did." So I am kind of an unabashed Kylo Ren fan. If we're talking about the current trilogy. But if you're going to go into the extended universe a little bit and talk about TV shows, and particularly Clone Wars, and I guess we could say Rebels too, Ahsoka is my favorite character. And the Anakin Skywalker-Ahsoka sort of interaction is one of the things I like most about Star Wars even, despite the fact it was on Clone Wars rather than on like a movie. And so I've been calling for an Anakin Skywalker hero card since the Anakin Skywalker Darth Vader card came out in Spirit of Rebellion, which was like set 2. And I had to wait a while, like calendar years, but they finally made it. So we have Anakin Skywalker, dedicated mentor. He's got 13 health, which is more than 12. He has a die that is... I can live with it, I guess. It's got 1 melee, which is gross, 2 melee, which is better, 4 melee for 1, which... all right. 1 shield, which is gross, 1 resource, which is fine, and a blank, which you can't resolve. But the 4 melee for 1 is something we haven't really seen on heroes outside of Mace Windu. The 2 melee side's perfectly serviceable, and we haven't seen whatever his support's going to be yet. He is a Jedi and a leader. His effect is after you activate this character, you may discard a card from your hand and move a shield from a character to another character, then draw a card if you move that shield to an apprentice. So rather like Kylo Ren, they're basically telling you, play Anakin with an 11 cost apprentice. I know one of those that exists already in the Ahsoka that we just got in the current blocks. So they're I think they're trying to tell you to do that. Whether he is good or not is going to depend almost entirely on what his support cards do. Because Darth Vader, Terror to Behold, wouldn't be as good without Fear and Deadman. Or Darth Vader's lightsaber. He would be good, he wouldn't be great.
Yeah.
So what are they going to give this Anakin? Because if he gets something good, then sky's the limit. But if he doesn't really get anything, 15-19 as a point cost is a tough design space to work in. You end up being limited to like Rose and Satine and a couple others for Elite, but it's not like a world-beating list. I think his effect is super cool, given that you can steal shields from your opponent, which is always nice. But you're going to have to guarantee the shields. The card filtering is cool, but you need an apprentice to do it. So, there's a lot of stuff here that's limiting. His quote is, "There's no time for caution." Ironically, this is like exactly the time for caution. Please reprint caution. That would be fine. And would make this pretty good. Although it would probably make Kylo Ren miserable. So, I don't know. Or that guard reprint I keep talking about. He's there. He's close. And I'm very excited that he exists in Star Wars Destiny. I am the fanboy a little bit with Anakin Skywalker, dedicated mentor.
Okay. Well, I won't say a bunch of negative things about him then.
Trash him. I'm a realist.
I hate this card.
I'm going to play this card.
This does not work for me. He's like Vader and almost as expensive and as difficult to pair, but his die is way worse. And his ability is way, 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 way worse.
Yeah, they're really close.
And I just don't get it. I don't know. I'm going to take a bold stance now and say Anakin sees no competitive play. And I don't know what else comes out with him in this set. Maybe something super good. But I don't see it. There. Oh no, is this prediction being recorded?
Jason, I have another one. I'm going to take a bold chance here and say that he's definitely going to see competitive play because at least one person is going to play him at a store championship in the new year.
Well,
you don't count.
I definitely count. I'm a person.
I don't think you're going to see him at the top table Worlds 2020.
No, probably not.
I don't think you'll see him in the top 16 Worlds 2020.
Probably not. How about you give me top like 128 and I can work with that?
Okay. I mean, you might see him there. How about top... I'll go top 64. I don't think he sees top 64. I don't think anybody's playing him by Worlds 2020. So, I mean...
It's really hard. I need an easier goal with a card like this.
I mean, I also am kind of excited that he's there. It's cool to have a hero Anakin that's not little kid Anakin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't really count that.
Yeah, but the one shield, one resource side on a 19-point character does not feel good. The one melee doesn't feel great unless you have a big hefty modified side, in which case... that's fine. You know, if you get a Skywalker saber that has a +4 side, then you don't feel as bad about it. And if it has a really good ability like Vader's saber, then you don't feel as bad about it. But
wait for it to be like, if this card's discarded by a card effect from your hand, play it on a character.
Yeah. But his, unless there's something tricky to his ability, I don't much care for that either. Losing cards is hard. Normally when I pitch to reroll, it's a difficult decision. Like you have a lot of choices now for cards in your deck, and every one that you slot in there has value. So when you have to pitch it to reroll, that hurts. So the idea of pitching it to basically cycle a card and move one shield doesn't feel that good to me either.
I think you do it for the cycle. It's like, I mean, it lets you potentially build your deck with some weird numbers, knowing that you're going to be able to fix it a little bit. I'm also going to point out that people still play Steadfast. And I know that Steadfast ignores shields, but it is basically paying 1 to move a damage, right? And this is paying nothing to move a shield. So if you could somehow guarantee you are actually getting that transfer...
But you're paying a card. So you're paying a piece of removal, or you're paying an upgrade, or you're paying... You know, like, that has cost to me.
I agree, but arguably you're playing with an apprentice and you're drawing it back. Like, I don't think you're going to do this if you lose a card. There would be very few situations where you would say, "Oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to lose a card to move it." You know what I mean? So, I have to think that this deck would be designed in such a way that you intended to get the card draw.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you get it every time, but...
Yeah, but it still just feels very outside to me, like you included... I don't know. What is the remove a droid or vehicle die card? Why is that escaping me?
Electromagnetic pulse.
Yeah. Like you included that and you're up against a non-droid, non-vehicle deck. So I do want to cycle that card. That's fine, right? Although I probably pitched it to reroll a long time ago. So, but, you know, except for those outside cases where I really want to cycle cards, like, you don't draw a lot of dead cards in Destiny, you know? If I draw a card, I can play it. And the idea that I want to pitch it to maybe, hopefully, get something else, I don't know. We'll see. It's interesting. There's not a lot of cycle in Destiny. So, I mean, it is cool to kind of see that come into it a little bit more, but...
The biggest problem, and I would agree with you on this, the biggest problem he's going to run into is I don't know that you can really resolve shields side. And a one melee is going to be real hard. The one resource is pretty standard unless your name's Darth Vader, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. But those other two, I'm not sure this character's busted at this cost with 224 on shield one resource. And he would be much better.
Yeah.
But, we'll see. I'm going to try it. I'm pretty excited.
You have to after that.
I mean, I don't
rousing support.
I don't know that I like him more than Obi-Wan, and Obi didn't get to see a lot. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because starter Obi-Wan, I've been there, tried that. He's not awful. Legacy's Obi-Wan's very good because he's going to guarantee you an extra shield no matter what. Plus, he has a free 3. Maybe they were worried about this with R2-D2 at a 2 at the top. But I don't know why you would be. It's not that good. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. No idea.
All right. Well, that was quite an exciting weekend of spoilers for us. It was really interesting because I think usually when the spoiler game is afoot, everybody's really excited about it. But because it was happening during the World Championship, there was a little bit less chatter about these particular cards. But, those of us who weren't at Worlds were happy to see them, and I think there is an element of hope for the future that anytime a spoiler game starts, we're like, oh yes, there's cool stuff coming, and this game is alive and well. So,
for what it's worth, if you had seen me at the bar/restaurant after day 2 when I saw the Anakin spoiler, people at Worlds were also excited about the spoiler.
That's good.
Maybe they were excited about Deathfields, though. I don't know.
You weren't listening to anything anybody was saying after you saw Anakin, right?
Nope, it was all over after that. I was plotting ways to make the draw useful.
All right. So we will jump ahead, and we're going to find out all about Worlds from our resident expert.
Oh, God.
But you know what I always say. Speak softly and drive a big tank.
So we're to talk here. Wow. Words are hard, and the proper order of words is very challenging, and I feel really intimidated that I'm sitting next with two people who educate our future youth, and they're probably thinking that I should have gone back to school. However...
I teach social studies, not English. You're fine.
And I did horrible at social studies, so...
I just teach astronomy, so we just look at stars. So
You actually teach astronomy? See, I should know these things. I've known you for how many years now, Matt?
Well, so that changed, though, a couple of years ago, so...
Okay.
I used to teach different stuff. But
I realized out of all the people who've been with the Chance Cube since, I want to say day 1-ish, you're the only person I've never met in person.
Yeah, that's true.
This is unfortunate. We'll have to change this sometime.
Yeah, we do.
Anyways.
Yeah,
World's 2020.
That's right.
Why didn't you invite this guy to your movie?
Because $18 for a movie theater ticket's pricey enough, and the $300 plane ticket probably wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're here to talk about Worlds. Mike Hill was actually fortunate enough to go to Worlds, and you know what? We're going to start with, since I'm going to disappear for a second, we're going to start with your experience. Like, what'd you play? How was it all for you? Everything from I can't find the hotel room to wow, the bars are really great. Plus the gameplay aspect to it would be great.
I might talk about that part the least, to be honest with you. So Worlds was awesome. It was a 12-hour drive for me. Friend of mine drove, actually, Nathan Ball, who ended up making top 64, so I was real proud of him. But we drove. We live in Ohio, so the drive to Minnesota was lengthy, but it was better. We made some jokes, had some fun, ate some snacks. You know how it is. We got there, found the hotel, and immediately they were like, let's go play pods. Like, we've been in the car for 12 hours. Like, exactly. So we went over and we played pods, and I got a blind bag with my first set of tickets. And for those who don't know, the blind bags had 3 cards in them. 1 was foil, 2 was non-foil. They were all the monochromatics, and it was random what you got. So in my first blind bag, I opened like an excited kid on Christmas. I got the new Trooper foil, Farm Boy Luke from the starter deck, and another copy of the Trooper non-foil. It was like not great. because there were all these super cool cards, and I got none of them. So that was fine though. I bought some of the shield tokens; they were really cool, and I was able to get a couple of just the resource tokens because I wanted them as trinkets. So we went back and we played in day 1B. I went like 1-3 drop at the break. Not a great tournament for me. For a variety of reasons. Deck choice could have been probably a little better, but I'm always going to be a fan of the goofy stuff. And I was like, this goofy thing will work. And it didn't. I was playing Order 66 with Kylo and Phasma, and it was fun, certainly. But there was just stuff I couldn't beat with that, and that was fine. I went to pods and played a lot of fun stuff in pods. I played some Mace, Han. I played a little bit of the Order 66 deck. I played Kylo 2 Phasma. I think I played Raylo once. It was fun. But I guess the pods are what I want to talk about because there's something that's new for Worlds now, and that's this inclusion of a prize wall that's worth going for stuff on, and pods that provide tickets that are worth playing for. And I played in pods, and this is something almost unique to Worlds, right? I played in pods with people from all around the world, people who spoke different languages and had different cards and different thoughts about the game and about Star Wars, and it was such a cool and unique experience to be able to, enjoy something like that with people who I would never normally have interacted with. So on like just sort of a human level, it was really cool. You get people in one place and everyone enjoying the same hobby and everyone doing the same thing, and that's an experience. It's hard to really do justice to, short of going to Worlds and playing in these elite man tournaments with people that you would never play with otherwise. And so the highlight of our day 1 for my local group was Nathan making day 2. And he was in the tradition of my local store playing just a nonsense deck that somehow did well. And he was on a Django Phasma with profitable connections, and he did just well enough. He went 6-2. Yeah. So on Sunday, I was determined to run as many pods as I could to pull a foil Ahsoka out of the blind bags. And it turns out that was a crazy quest that didn't quite work out. So I bought the Ahsoka playmat instead, which was 20 of the tickets. And I went probably 2-1 in most of my pods. I went 1-2 in some. I went 3-0 in a couple. It was, just kind of a mixed bag. I think I won at least one game in all of them, but it was it was fun. It was fun to kind of quest for those. And as the day went on, we found out. Of course, Nathan ended up losing in top 64, but it was a good run either way. And he joined us.
What was the currency like when it comes to tickets, pods to tickets to blind bags? Like how many wins that you need to achieve what you were looking for?
A pod costs $5 to enter, and for entering you got 4 tickets. So you could go 0-3 and you get 4 tickets.
Okay.
Every win you got gave you another ticket. So if you went like 2-1, you would get 6 tickets. The 2 wins plus your initial investment of the 4. You got an additional 2 tickets for winning. So if you went 3-0, you would get 9 tickets. And that was sort of how it worked. The blind bags cost 5. The shield tokens cost 4. So it was
not bad.
If you went like 2-1, you were going to pull a blind bag with a ticket left over. And that was that was about where I sat, was that, until I decided I wanted to play Matt. And then I built him up. But it was not difficult. If you had a target to get what you wanted, as long as you were willing to play a lot.
Did you encounter any of the like speedrun pods? I read a honestly sarcastic article today, and he just mentioned them offhand that like some people would get together in a group of 8 and do a speed run through a pod where they all mutually agreed not to play any removal. It was just crank out damage as fast as possible in the round as fast as possible.
So most of the pods, or I guess I would say every pod I played in, bar 1, everyone just played their games pretty regularly.
Okay.
By Sunday, we had agreed that a 30-minute timer was appropriate, just to not have these games that lingered into like the 40-minute range on time when everyone's trying to get taken. But I mean, yeah, people knew there was a time crunch. People knew that you could enter more if it was faster. So certainly the games were a little quicker than they maybe would have been. Mm-hmm. Everyone heard about the speed pods. You know what I mean? because FFG had sort of, I don't want to say warned people, but basically told people a pod needed to take a set amount of time. Whether it be an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half, like this is how long it needs to take. And it was in response to, I don't want to call anybody out, but that was in response to the people trying to finish pods in like half an hour on Wednesday.
Ooh.
Which was obviously not actually playing Destiny.
Right. So I remember that happened in the GQ pods. If you recall, like there were, whenever those were a thing, people would get together and say, well, why don't we just all kind of scoop in this order and we can finish a pod in 15 minutes, and then we'll go run another one and we'll just change the order so everybody gets a bunch of tickets.
Yeah, and I just think there's a way to do that where you're still playing the game.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, take 20 minutes, please. Come on now. But I think it was handled relatively well. I never joined a pod where everyone was like, let's not play Destiny. I felt like most of the groups I was in, people were there to play, and they played.
That's good.
Yeah. Had a great experience. I just remembered this because you told me to talk about other places I went to. At a bar, it wasn't real far away from the event, called New Bohemia, and they played a bunch of my joke all weekend was it was just like this sort of place designed to trap millennials, because you'd walk by and they're playing basically any kind of music you would have heard on an alternative radio station from say 2001 to 2007. So you'd walk by and be like, what's that? I just heard something I like. And you'd stop in, and the food kept you there. It was pretty good. So awesome. I like that place. Give him a shout out.
So you played in day 2, and you arguably played in day 2. What'd you end up playing? I'm sorry if I missed it. What'd you end up taking?
I played the Kylo Order 66 deck, the Kylo Phasma.
Oh, okay.
It was really cool against 2-eyed decks. It was really, I could sort of win most of the times, sometimes, against 3-eyed decks, but things had to go right, and it was one of those tournaments where it was like an action behind, turn behind, a bomb roll behind, and playing meta decks, that doesn't typically happen, but playing decks like that where it's like you really pretty much can't make a mistake because your deck is not very good. Making a single mistake cost you, and I did not play flawlessly. I got to get a big old humble pie and take a couple slices out of it and eat it, so
Yeah, that was my first Worlds experience back when I thought I was good, but so
I only ate 3 slices. I still think I'm perfectly acceptable. If I'd have gone any farther, it might have been dangerous.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I understand. Honestly, from a spectator standpoint, watching Worlds from, I mean, I've got opinions from a content creator's perspective, and it was really interesting to know that every group, I think every group was there except for us in some capacity. I mean, we were there because you were there, but in the grand scheme of things, there was very little. I feel like there was very little media coverage compared to Worlds in the past. And I don't know if that's because of just the type of content people were providing. But aside from, a daily post of the list from the main event and the streams are awesome. Let's not, and don't discount the fact that this is the first time FFG reached out to all the content creators, said who wants to stream and help them set up, and then gave them space to do it, and organized all that. Because when we streamed Worlds last year, it was, us bringing in our own little table and our laptop and janking some, cell phone hotspots to make it work.
It was,
of course, last year Worlds, Worlds was 5 different, all their Star Wars games, so the FFG stream was competing. Yeah. There was very little Destiny on their stream, so and honestly, the commentary from the FFG side was so much better this year than it's ever been before, which was really
they did a really good job. I would have to say, truthfully, everybody at Fantasy Flight and the content creators that work to support them, I felt like did a really good job managing Worlds on site, making it a fun experience, and certainly working together to manage the streams and do a good job with that. as someone who razzes FFG for making mistakes, I have to commend them for doing something well. And I think as a player at the event, Worlds 2019 was done very well.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like it was way better than, because we went to the last two, and it sounds like this year's Worlds was way better managed and handled, and the space, just having the space, was awesome. And I think that's a big tribute to Matt Holland and his team over there.
I mean, there were still weird FFG style delays, like, you know what I mean? Things you can't really explain, like wait times before rounds and stuff, but minor complaints relative to the overall spirit of the event, which I think was kept light and fun and serious when it had to be.
Good. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say...
Maybe I was just looking for more... this is a whole nother podcast topic. I felt like I was looking for more of the people behind the game. I think that's what we missed a little bit of this year, because in the past we've had content creators who were really good at talking to players constantly between games and putting that out on the internet, and that's I think we didn't see a lot of that this year, and mostly because a lot of people were there, right? That maybe there was this idea that is there any need to do this because everybody who's anybody is there, but that's where we need to realize that if this game is going to grow, there's going to be a larger portion of the community who's not going to Worlds, and we need to try and get that stuff out there and try to put a little bit more, face to the game.
Sure.
Is that
actually
fair? I don't know if that's fair or not.
Well, I didn't actually watch any of the streams that weren't the FFG streams, so I don't know if some of the other content creators got that experience or not. I don't know if y'all got a chance to watch them. There were 4 or 5 different content creators streaming games, but I don't know.
Tuned in. There was one group who was remotely doing kind of a flip between the streams, doing commentary. There were 2 or 3 groups who were just streaming games because I think all the players were also playing. So they set up the stream and they kind of let it run. They set it up between rounds, but otherwise they weren't monitoring it the whole time. I was surprised. The view count was not as even between FFG had a lot more viewers for their stream than the other creator groups did. But I wasn't monitoring those numbers throughout the entire time, which is the exact opposite of X-Wing, because when I tuned to the X-Wing stream, FFG had 200, and the Gold Squadron podcast had 1,000. So,
oh wow,
I don't know, but Gold Squadron also does a hell of a job with their X-Wing streams and full commentary and everything. So. But that's a different game. It's a different community. That's just it's just an observation.
Yeah.
Neither here nor there. It'll be interesting next year when it's invite only to see what happens. Because I would love to go as media because the likelihood of me getting an invite is, I'd have to play regularly,
right,
and
I
seriously,
would expect,
and ignore my family.
Right, I would expect a large last chance qualifier.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
One thing that I found interesting, though, is in that same honestly sarcastic article that I referenced earlier, he also kind of encouraged people to go next year, even if you didn't get an invite, assuming that there was still going to be kind of an open portion to it. So if they're still running pods on the side, if they're still side events, he made the point that the main event might not even be the most fun part. Totally. Go do the side events and enjoy the experience. And I thought that was actually,
if anyone has ever played, I agree, if anyone's ever played in an 8-man tournament and enjoyed it, the pods are awesome. You get to fire as many 8-man tournaments as you want for days with people you would never normally play with, playing all kinds of different decks. If you just want to play Destiny, there's a whole lot worse things you could do.
That's true. And it would be kind of cool to see Destiny add that spectator element to it, because it doesn't really have that in full force right now. Because I remember last year when everybody from the Chanscape who was there sitting in the stadium, they had stadium seating, and it was small, 2 bleacher risers, watching the final match, because obviously we weren't streaming it because that would be silly. It's kind of a neat experience to watch a game with a bunch of people. Like that, and I think if you can somehow foster that side of the community and develop that for Worlds, it's pretty cool.
It was. So without getting too long-winded, I think we did see
I don't know if we want to say we saw a big shift in the meta, but we saw a lot more decks come out of the woodwork with this Worlds and do well. For better or worse, Chopper Droids still won. Mike's prediction that Chopper Droids was probably the best droids, and after the errata, it proved itself well done. Of course, Andrew Rothmill piloted it expertly. But it was the only Hero Droids deck in the top 8, which I think is surprising. Elite Forlom Grievous really came into his own during this event. Afrophasma, the Palp Mahdi deck evolved. One Raylo, and then the surprise Leia Yoda Mill, which I believe was more of a meta call than anything else, made it to top 4, which was I was very pleased to see that kind of variety. And it was interesting because he won his first game in the top 4. And I almost wonder if Mill has a disadvantage in a best of 3 matchup, because
it absolutely does.
Because you start to figure out how to play against it in that second game, and basically. But he made it top 4, so I mean, obviously he barreled through other decks along the way.
Well, the other thing is, if you go 1-1, tiebreakers damage. If your first 2 games take forever, Mill is supremely disadvantaged in game 3. The way Destiny works, so it was an impressive run. Absolutely, Matt Phillips did a great job.
Do you guys think? Do you think the balance really did have a dramatic effect on the way the decks played out, or do you think this Forlom deck was really just late to come into its own when it came into this event? I mean, even just looking at the top, all the 6 and 2s and up that made it, right.
The question I would ask myself about Forlom is, does that deck even exist if you can still play Jabba Watt Sentinel Messenger?
Do you think Forlom's the replacement for Jabba Watt Sentinel?
I would just ask. I mean, because it's a support deck that runs Delve into Fist, and we've seen something very similar that got hit quite a bit harder by that errata than I think I realized at the time, certainly. So I don't know, just wonder.
I also appreciate mods from your Destiny bringing a lore Satine Gungan deck.
Yes.
I mean, there's a fair number of droids in the top. I guess they call it the top 128, even though I think it was only 65 players. But only the Yoda Leia Mill deck. So I guess to some extent the balance did have an effect. But I see what your point is with the Forlom deck. Is that just essentially a replacement for the Jabba support deck?
I really don't know. Just know that it does a lot of the same things.
Yeah.
A little bit better character dice. But a little bit worse, power action effects. So,
I mean, I think this Worlds and maybe even last Worlds, where you got such a diverse top 8, I think is when you have a starting field of 512, I think is what they ended up with, or maybe even more than that.
A bunch of people didn't show up for day 2. Like, there were a bunch of empty seats. People just kept playing in side events or had things come up. I don't know what their final count was to start, but it was a big field.
It's also good that they decided to go the 6 and 2s and up, because when you get to an event like this, there's so many drops in those first few rounds that strength of schedule just doesn't seem fair anymore.
Right.
100% agree.
Yeah. So,
although that had a weird little situation too, because the 6 and 2s ended up being 63 people, right? So one of the 8 and 0s got a bye in that first round of the cut, and the other one did not. Which, I mean, is just how it works, but I'm sure somebody will have something to say about that in the future.
Yeah.
Well,
although that bye went to Hunter Shelburne of Texas, so shout out to him because he is awesome, and made it to top 16. So
he travels a lot for Destiny, doesn't he? I feel like I've met him before, or does he not?
Yes, and also has been working in the board game industry for a while now, so he's kind of everywhere. So he's
Gotcha. I'm sure I've run into him in an event somewhere along the way, but I was happy to see that name and him do so well.
Yep.
Great. Well, any final thoughts on Worlds, Mike, before we move on?
It was really fun. I would do it again. And I think it speaks a lot to Worlds that I mean, I really had a terrible main event, but I had a great weekend. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's the point. They've got to do that. Otherwise, then, the 500 some odd players aren't like, not everybody's expecting to be the world champion.
Yeah, and so it was like getting to meet people from different places and with different takes on the game, and getting to see people I've met over the last couple of years, from surrounding states, do well or do poorly, and talk about it, and getting to meet listeners of the Chance Cube and that kind of thing. That was awesome. So,
Yeah.
That part was really cool, and that's the part I think that you'd really like to see continue to develop and be even better next year.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, we'll go ahead and jump into our question from 2 weeks ago.
There can be no mistakes this time.
So 2 weeks ago, we asked you on our Facebook page, what do you do with your playmat collection, or even if you have one, just because as we look at all these prize kits and we look at these tournament winnings and all this stuff, there's always a playmat or two up for grabs, and your skilled players, as Mike Hill shows us his Ahsoka playmat that he purchased from the prize wall, which is lovely, actually.
So
It's very nice.
I like. Is it monochromatic? It kind of like the cards.
Yeah, it looks like the card.
So I actually like that because a really busy playmat drives me crazy. But that looks like it'd be really pleasant to watch a game played on. And I just think it's interesting because playmats are like. I look at my playmat collection. I've got maybe 3 or 4, but I always use the same one when I play. So what does everybody else do with them, right? So Bill Jolly said that he rolls his up and stores them in 5,000 count card boxes. The boxes are then stacked on a shelf, easy to find and put away, and most importantly, keeps him out of trouble.
Which I really appreciate him saying that, because that is a perfect way to store those, and I never thought about it. So I need to grab a couple of 5,000 card boxes.
Because those are like $1, right? At your local game
Yeah,
store?
they're dirt cheap.
They're super
And they're
cheap.
perfectly sized.
That's great. Good job. Life hack. Thank you, Bill Jolly. Parker Simpson has a problem with this because he designs a new playmat for a site. He wants one for himself. That sounds like a personal problem. I understand. I understand. Cecil, one of our authors, I use them as dinner placemats, much to my wife's chagrin.
No. Much to our chagrin, Cecil. No. That is like a Joker-esque, some men just want to watch the world burn kind of thing. Please don't spill spaghetti or whatever on your playmats. Please, come on.
Yeah, for me, that's the core problem. What happens when you make a mess?
Yeah, no. No.
Wow. Yeah. We're awfully opinionated. Cecil, you do what you want to do, man.
Cecil, don't let us tell you how to live your life.
Don't let Matt tell you how to live your life.
This is an intervention. Do let us tell you a little bit how to use your playmats.
Don't worry.
Jason Griffin, I use them for a period and rotate them, and then sometimes use them as a part of prize support and tournaments I host. So that's cool. Get some use out of them and then flip them around for others.
That is also very cool. And Jason is a really good guy, so that's not surprising. And that is so much more altruistic than me, because I just hoard them. So good on Jason for being a much better person.
Jim Goss, I rotate depending on theme. When I am building and organizing, I spread them out so I'm not putting the cards on the table surface. That's cool, because I roll out the Chance Cubes 2-player mat when I build, but I'm not crazy maniacal when I build, so I don't have cards everywhere, just in a small location. I don't know. What do you do with your... Maybe that's a question for 2 weeks from now. How much space do you take up when you build your deck?
The whole kitchen table.
Is it like a 6-seater kitchen table, like a rectangular?
Yeah, plus a laptop out usually.
I use one 3x3 neoprene Rune Wars mat for a different game that FFG killed. So, thank you, FFG.
It would be kinder to say that FFG let go to sleep.
You think?
Okay.
They sent it to a farm.
And Tim Sutter, I have them all in monster tubes and bust them out for Destiny with friends and family or on board game nights, which I think is the more traditional way. Of course, monster tubes don't stack as well, but I guess you could find some other way to stack. I mean, monster tubes are triangular, so they're kind of some sort of geometrical pattern on your shelf, right? Well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knew there were so many things to do with your playmats? I'm not sure I found the answer I wanted, but I found different answers.
Use them as dinner plates. That was the answer you wanted, or dinner mats.
No,
You found it. You're just resisting it. Cecil's already figured.
Because my wife has an Ewok mat that we just had custom printed that has that Jeremy Swern signed. Nope, just kidding, not Jeremy.
Yeah, cool.
Lucas
Lucas
signed that one.
Like that can be her place, and then you just need to. All you need to do is top 16 of Prime, get a color Ray mat that can be Ray's place, and you can use whatever thing you want to use. It'll be fine.
Then I use my black Chance Cube mat, but then I've got like the other Chance Cube mat, and then I've got the one I bought from the GQ, and then I never win one at an event, so I guess this is the 4 that I have, and I'm done. With my discussion.
If you use the black one, it'll hide the stains better, from the food. So maybe that's enough.
Anyways,
I like.
If you're listening live, thank you. Please follow us, subscribe. If you have an Amazon Prime account, your 1 subscribe per month is free. Thank you, Vindicator, for subscribing today. YouTube, like, subscribe, hit the notification icon. I swear there's more coming, but apparently the This Week in Destiny videos are not doing so bad, so check those out. I just posted one yesterday. Podcast, please review us on your favorite podcast app. Thank you to Matthew Scott for doing double duty tonight and replacing the illustrious Kim Breeze, who apparently is stuck at a bank function and is very excited about it, which is sarcasm. Thank you to all our Patreons, and thank you for being patient. The Patreon gift for the months are coming out. They just went to the printer. And check out, if you haven't checked out the Hangout recently, we got a cool dual, one of those cards that like they make one piece of art when you put them together. We're doing that with Raylo, and I think it's pretty cool. I think it's cool.
It's a diptych, right? Isn't that what you call it? A diptych. I don't know. When you have two pieces of art that fit together.
For what it's worth, guys, I refused to sanction a card that had them like making nice to each other. So,
yes, it is Mike Hill's fault that they are battling it out, which is totally fine by me because I think hopefully that's what's going to happen ultimately.
I hope so too. Yes.
And last but not least, please check out the App Store for our iOS app, the Chance Cubes Price Watch, and we'll get that updated with the new set whenever the new set drops, which is not anytime soon.
Yeah, it'll be super soon.
Super soon.
Also, the question of the week about why everyone loves Anakin so much.
Hey, head over to our Facebook page. Pinned to the top is this week's question. What is your favorite Covert Mission spoiler thus far? And Mike Hill would very much like everyone to say Anakin because he needs to know there's other Anakin lovers out there. Just
put on a blindfold, don't look at his die side, and listen to me tell you there's an Anakin with a 4 melee, and just pick it. It's fine to ignore everything else.
Everybody, thank you for listening. We'll see y'all next week. Ooh, and Monk's going to join us next week, we think. I'm pretty sure he's going to join us. I know that was like a teaser, but not really one. But anyways, come listen. Okay, bye.
This has been The Chance Cube, a Star Wars Destiny podcast, a non-profit organization dedicated to building community through gaming. Visit our website for all things Star Wars Destiny, including our price watch, meta tracker, and latest articles from the Chance Cube family. Find our latest videos on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and visit us at patreon.com/thechancecube. Your patronage allows us to grow this program and help us give back to the gaming community by sponsoring events, giveaways, and supporting our own community building initiatives. This is Mike Hill, the voice of the Chance Cube. Thanks for listening. The Chance Cube is not affiliated with Fantasy Flight Games, Lucasfilms, or the Walt Disney Company.